I'm Gab. He's Jules. Gray skies over Berlin today, although they might clear up. Unlike the skies over Italy.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
I know. I appreciate your commiserations there. Italy, of course, totally putrid. Big shout out to Switzerland, knocking them out. We'll be talking about that. We're talking about England's wild performance there against Slovakia.
Yeah.
Even. And we'll be talking about Germany advancing, Spain advancing. All of this coming to you from Scaling Spaces, people who are hosting us here in Berlin, just across the bridge from Friedrichshain. Scaling Spaces, of course, a co-working space for all your co-working needs. Jules, co-working, I think, is what Luciano Spalletti needed. In fact, no, actually, he needed unemployment. I think, in my view, genuinely. He is sticking around.
He is indeed.
Let's go back to the game. People have said it's the worst Italy performance in a major tournament ever. I don't know. I don't want to think about it. We've had some pretty rotten ones. We've had some pretty rotten teams where we didn't even qualify. But this was really, really bad. And I'm just going to tell you, look, it's always shared responsibility, the coach, the players, blah, blah, blah. But I actually think this time it is mostly on Luciano Spalletti.
Yeah, I just think that none of his choices, or the choices that he made for that game, worked out, which is sometimes what happens to managers, even the top ones, head coaches, everything. But to start Stefan El Shaarawy in a game like that after playing 0 second before in these Euros.
Okay, sorry, hands up out there, everybody who thought Stefan El Shaarawy had retired. No, and you know what's crazy? He's 31 years old.
Yeah,
but
he's a good squad player, I guess, for training and stuff, but not to start.
Squad player for what? For Como? I mean, look, this is my issue. The guy went to China like 6 years ago. He came back and barely anybody noticed because he hardly played for Roma. When he did play this year, he came off the bench. He was mostly substitute. This is your big solution in a game like this?
No, but maybe Spalletti likes him for his ability defending. I don't know. They've worked together before, so I don't know. I was surprised he started, and when Zaccagni scores a goal like he did against Croatia, to not almost reward him with a start in the following game. And I know Zaccagni is not Messi, but it's still like, the guy has taken you there. At least that's how you can repay him in a way. But just even Fagioli, who we said before has not played all season because of his suspension, I understand that Spalletti likes him and likes the profile and sees an amazing player in the future in him. But again, this is a different thing.
Fagioli played for Jorginho.
Yeah.
I know my eggs here. You know how many people in football are superstitious. I'm just going to throw this out there. Did he actually bench Jorginho because he's like, ooh, what if we get a penalty? And Jorginho's already missed 2 key penalties in 2 separate games against Switzerland and at Switzerland. I don't want to be in that situation.
Surely not.
You don't think his strange head, his strange mind might go in those directions?
That's not how you make decisions, really.
Oh, really? You don't think Spalletti makes decisions like that?
I don't know.
Come on, man.
I don't know.
And at the back, all right, fine. Calafiori's out.
Di Marco is out.
And Di Marco's out. All right, Calafiori, you went for Mancini. You went for the more muscular option, which, again, does that really make sense, given you're up against Brill and you have Bastoni in there? Whatever, fine. But then, at left back, you have left backs who are similar in profile to Di Marco. I mean, Raul Bellanova is probably the fastest player on this Italy side, right?
He is.
No, let me go and put in Darmian, who's 40 years old, just about, and is a center back, and let me have him play left back.
I know.
What's the logic there?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, even for Di Lorenzo keeping his place in that team after being shocking in the group stages games, really.
Sorry, can I just get another stat for you? Only 3 Italy players played every minute of every game. Bastoni, no argument there. Donnarumma, no argument there. And Di Lorenzo, who did not have a good tournament.
Bad season, and was clearly targeted by the Swiss and by Vargas, and everything that the Swiss were doing well was on their left-hand side, Di Lorenzo's side. So, yeah, I think not the most inspired performance from Spalletti. And he said, I haven't been the best of Spalletti's in this Euros. Well, too right.
Yeah, we're going to rip into Spalletti more on the Gab and Juls podcast. I've got plenty of ammo. But we have to give a shout-out, I think, to Switzerland as well. Remind people that Murat Yakin, back in October, after they drew 3-3 at home with Belarus, they had to score twice in the last 2 minutes to keep his job. He was almost out of a job. There is a learning curve there, Jules. And they look so good.
Incredible turnaround. I mean, I don't really know where it comes from. Chaka said that before the tournament, him and Yakin went for dinner, just the two of them. They drank wine, they talked, maybe they cleared the air. I don't know, but everything that he's doing is working so far, which is really, really remarkable. All the tactical choices, all the players, all the environment.
And that's a big thing. I mean, Switzerland didn't win because they have quicker, more athletic players. I mean, that too. They won because they totally outsmarted Italy and Luciano Spalletti. Jules, I'm going to reserve my bile on Spalletti a little bit because, again, I don't want to just make this about Spalletti, about Italy. Switzerland, and I really do believe this, right? Some people now are saying, oh, look, they're so good, like, threat to win the tournament. If they do, I don't think it's going to be through talent. I think it's going to be through what they have up here, through intelligence. Because taken as individuals, yes, Akanji's fantastic. Granit Xhaka was an absolute monster in that game. Remo Freuler played out of his skin. Ebischer's been really good again. Ndoye's really fast, and Bolo will tie people up. But like a lot of teams from countries that side, you've got a couple very good players, and you have a lot of guys who are basically role players at their club. But when they play like this, it's like a multiplier effect. They are more than the sum of their parts.
Yeah, because their collective strength has been pretty amazing. Their organization, we said after the Germany game, where they again played so well as a unit, collectively. Their system works well with the back three. They've got intelligent players. They've got some physical players. They've got players who run a lot and keep running and running and running. And on top of Akanji and Xhaka, who've been two outstanding really players in this tournament, who are really the leaders of that team, I guess, with Sommer, the rest follows, and it's not perfect. And we mentioned before the lack of a clinical number 9, for example, and we saw Mbolo missing another big chance against Donnarumma, 0-0 in the game against Italy. So it's not perfect, but for now it works, and they're on the weaker side of the draw as well, which is a massive help. And they've got all that momentum and confidence going into the later stages now, quarterfinals, etc.
I think this is a reminder again for those who follow international football when you see somebody like Ricardo Rodriguez, right? Who, it's funny because I forget what World Cup it was. Must have been maybe ahead of 2014, maybe. I sat down and made a list with Tor Christian Carlson, our colleague, sort of like 10 up and coming players to watch, and he had put both Fabian Schär and Ricardo Rodriguez on the list, and he says, "Oh, he's got a phenomenal foot. He's strong." He's like, "I'm like the downsides." Well, he's really slow.
The slowest player in the world. He made such a good career being so slow.
He's even slower now.
Oh my God.
Now, I understand Akanji's quick. Schär, not exactly a speedster. Again, these are things that you have, these incomplete, imperfect players, right? And yet you have a coach in Yakin who says, you know what? I'm going to focus on the positives. I'm going to have a system that kind of cloaks the situation around them. Because if I have Ebischer coming back and helping, who's super quick, if I've got other players, I can make do with Ricardo Rodriguez. And I'm going to say, look, you've got this phenomenal range of passing. You're going to pass out of the back. And Akanji, you won't, right? Yeah. Because that's not your skill set. And it's this kind of thing. I feel like these coaches of these, mid-tier sides have to get more creative, and they make different choices, and they outsmart the opponents.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, even in the build-up phase, what they do on that left-hand side is really interesting. There's a lot of good things they do. Like, are they one of the greatest teams ever? No, they're not. But what they do works. I mean, Yakin really cracks me up because he obviously has his sunglasses, it's his own range, which I find amazing. He's clearly the only head coach in this competition that has like his own range of anything. And on the day of the game, from where I was sat, before the 45 minutes before kickoff, I saw him coming out of the tunnel where the players are. So this is where you suspect like your head coach is in the dressing room talking to the players one-on-one, collectively, like pep talk, etc., tactics. No, he came round, and I was where the Swiss fans were, came round to literally warm them up. He did the little hey with his hand, they clapped him, they sang his name. He stayed 5-10 minutes and then went back into the dressing room before the game, and I was like, man. So clearly there's a feeling, maybe he wanted to like just milk it a little bit and wanted that kind of recognition even before the game because he didn't know if they would still qualify after. I don't know. But I just thought that was really, really weird, man.
All right. I think it's time to lay into Italy. and I'm going to get this out of the way first, the fact that we've said this all along. This is a team that I think has maybe 4 players who are legitimately world class, maybe 3 or 4 players who might be world class one day, maybe a couple players who were world class in the past, and then a bunch of guys who are basically filler.
Yeah.
And but as we've said, everybody's incomplete, right? France and Upamecano coming off a terrible season, starting at the back, right? Germany with Mittelstadt, Raum, this kind of nonsense. Everybody's got issues. So that said, I can accept that Italy might well trip up, and they do trip up. But this notion that Italy would just get substantially worse as the tournament goes on, especially against Switzerland, a team that Italy are so familiar with, and to go out and put out such a passive performance, even against Croatia when they were losing, when they had their backs to the wall and being outplayed, there was a lot of fight. Here there was very little.
Yeah, I mean, physically they looked out of it really from the start. And okay, Spalletti is a very dogmatic coach. There's no problem. Maybe individually, if you just look at all the head coaches in tournament, he might be the best one, certainly after what he did at club level. But there's one thing, if you can't implement your ideas to your squad for whatever reason, the lack of quality, the lack of talent, maybe the lack of depth, the lack of time.
The lack of time is the big one.
Maybe. But at least make them hard to beat, make them hard to be broken down, make them really strong defensively. And we said before, between the back 3 and back 4, he kept changing his mind, going from one to the other. And it's just like, and this is not good enough at this level, because you're going to get found out, and they did. And it could have been far worse than just the 2-0 defeat that they suffered.
I was really curious how he's going to approach this. Look, this is a challenge for everybody, right? And we've said before that you go into the tournament, it's an international tournament, you don't have time to work, so it's more about man management, it's about reading the moment, it's about reading the situation. He was terrible at that too. And I don't expect to see much sophistication. But when you come out and you say, at least we have an identity, and the identity will be this, and it's going to be this system, and it's going to be working on possession and keeping the ball. He didn't. He changed everything continuously. 6 outfield players changed.
That was weird.
And what? To adjust against mighty Switzerland? You're going to go and you're going to revolutionize everything? All of a sudden, oh, Jorginho. Oh, sorry, Georgie, you're out. And look, I'm not saying Jorginho's perfect.
No, yeah.
But when you've built something with him and you're based on possession, the El Shaarawy, we've covered. Hey, how does Kamak and Chiesa feel? Right? Oh, no, you guys are dropped for this critical game, and you can sit on the bench while we watch Raspadori and Retegui play, and then they bring them back for this. I really struggle with that.
Really strange decision making. I didn't think they would change manager. So the only thing I thought after the game was maybe he's had enough. This has been a frustrating tournament. You mentioned that he lost it with one of the journalists that he had to call back at 2 a.m. to apologize. So we saw how tense he's been during the tournament. So maybe it was not enjoyable, and maybe he thought, you know what, I'm not made for this. This is not for me. I'm 65 years old, by the way. I've got 2 more years on this contract, but then I prefer club football or whatever. I want to go back to my vines and everything, and But
you thought he was going to resign, really?
Yeah, I just thought like maybe he would have thought
money.
Yeah, maybe
that's
so.
what it is.
But there's not enough money in his life, really.
There's never enough money, because I think if you have that personality, where you're passive aggressive, you're acid tongued, right? And it's funny to a point, right? When you have your cutting, sarcastic remarks, like we all enjoy it. But then when you lose and you don't deliver results, and you treat people, you talk to people that way, then you just come across as something that rhymes with stick, and I'm sorry. And again, after the game, his post-game press conference, again, right? What does he say? He says, oh, it was hot. That affected us. The heat affected us. Yeah, it was hot. The other guys are Swiss. They live up in the mountains, okay? And you're going to use that as an excuse? Really? Then he brought up the fact that, well, our build-up play was too slow. Gee, maybe if we only had a coach who told them, hey, how about you build the play up quicker? The other guys have faster players. Yeah, maybe you don't play the guy who's 34 years old and you play the people who can run. If you think it is about speed and athleticism, I didn't have enough time to work. Previous Italy managers had more time to work than I did. Really? Okay, so what?
No.
I think he's the second or third highest paid coach at the Euros. And I'm sorry, the reason I bring it back to money is, look at Spain, right? Luis de la Fuente, other than the fact that, I mean, you agree, he is the worst dressed coach at the Euros by far.
He looks like your history teacher.
He looks ridiculous, right? But lifelong Spanish FA guy, whatever, probably goes to work by bus. And what? He's doing a phenomenal job with this group of players, right? So if there are hundreds of Italian De La Fuentes littered around Coverciano in the Italian FA. If I don't want to save myself money, I bring one of those guys.
Yeah.
I don't go and spend all this money to get Spalletti released from his Napoli contract, give Spalletti a big deal, and then he provides no value added whatsoever.
No, I know. And I mean, to be fair, the only thing we can do now is wait until 2026 and the World Cup. Gabriele Gavrina, who's the head of the Italian FA, said this is the objective now. It's obviously unthinkable. And it would be a disaster, he said, if we miss another World Cup, so it would be the third in a row.
Thank you for bringing it up.
They won't. They will qualify. But then we see, and Spalletti said, I know exactly what I need to do to fix those problems. We go younger. We start from the bottom again. I'm not sure if going younger, much younger, because I think they were the second youngest squad in the competition in these Euros. I don't know if going younger and younger is the right idea. But at least give them, like you said, a structure to it, and it could be something else than what you used to, and that you did at Napoli, for example. It could be a bit more defensive, it could be a bit more pragmatic, it could be a bit more on transition. There's a lot of things you can do as a coach, but I guess that's the next step now. Is see what they do between now and the World Cup in 2026.
And I also wonder if in the end, because it's one thing for Gravina and Spalletti to say that, we're going to stick around, the work has only just started. To say that, on the day after a press conference before they go home, it's another thing to see whether they're still actually there, in August or September or whenever certainly as far as Spalletti's concerned. I think that part is TBD, because I think people are going to follow the reports. They're going to talk about what happened inside the camp. They're going to talk about him, calling Scamacca lazy, which may be true, but you don't need to go and say that in public.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about, I think stuff is going to come out. And maybe they might feel that actually this is not the right thing. You talked about he's 65. He's going to be 67 in the heat, which is probably going to, make his gears move even more weirdly in his head. So I think that's out. I do think there's a lot of very gifted young players coming through for Italy. The under 17s, they won the Euros.
They all win stuff, but they don't play in Serie A anyway. So the problem is also there. The problem has got nothing to do with...
Kamada's 16. He's obviously not going to play for Milan.
No, but even in the under 19s, even in the under 21s, they don't play. The 68% of the Serie A players are foreigners.
Yeah, but you know what?
It's the highest in the big leagues.
I think you'll find England's about the same, and it doesn't stop England from having a tremendous group of players. Right? So to me, that's less of an issue. To me, what we're also seeing, I know this is always the stick. They go out like, too many foreigners. Let's put limits. Blah blah blah. Damn the EU.
Crystal Palace is the club with the most England players in this current squad. So it also shows you that.
But it hasn't stopped England from producing very good players. Is what I'm driving at.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, there's no reason these guys can't go abroad, right? We've seen that a little bit. Destiny Udogie, for me personally, and again, had he been fit, he would have been at this tournament.
Yeah.
He would have played in place of Di Marco once Di Marco was out. There are people who are missing too. I think that's a really good base to start from. If you don't get space in Serie A, go somewhere else. I have no issue with it. We have to think like that. Look, you're from France. What does every single good French player do? Even Mbappe.
Yeah, but
but what?
It's different.
Why is it different? Are French people just more adaptable, more intelligent than Italians?
No, they're just it's the feeder league, so they sell. Clubs have to sell.
Right.
I'm not sure in Italy they have to sell their players to.
Look, if you're at a big club, if you're Juventus, Inter, or Milan, then if you can't get into the starting lineup, then you move on.
Yeah,
I have no issue. If you're at a smaller club and a bigger club from another country comes and offers you a bigger contract, move on. Don't stay in your comfort zone. And I think that's also the mentality that people are going to have to get into. But Absolutely dire. Thank you. All right, enough Italy, mercifully. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, Gab.
Some late heroics from Jude Bellingham and an overtime goal from Harry Kane. Send England past Slovakia in extra time. Jules, I sense we're going to have a go at Gareth Southgate again.
Oh, my God. How bad was that? Pretty much from start to the 94th minute. Saved by this incredible overhead kick by Bellingham on a long throw, Stoke style from Kyle Walker. I don't think England deserved to win, deserved to go through. I thought they were pretty pathetic from literally from the start of this game until that genius moment, really, from Bellingham.
Well, Bellingham, of course, has that Real Madrid DNA, which you can go and make a big deal out of.
Yeah.
Beyond that, did you see them defend so deep?
Everything was wrong from Southgate's choices, tactically, their mentality, Kyle Walker. I mean, defensively, which was maybe one of the kind of positive in the group stage. Gay, Stones, Trippier and Walker were pathetic in that game against Slovakia. Far too easy where the Slovakia scored and created their chances. There was just nothing again between Saka, Foden and Kane and Bellingham.
What about Phil Foden running, not staying on side for the goal? I don't understand how you do it. You're a professional footballer.
That's mad. Is he not looking? He doesn't understand the rule of the offside? I don't understand.
It's bizarre.
This was really, really terrible from England. But hey, they're still there. They clearly have the luck of... is there an expression?
So like the Irish, except they're English?
I don't know. Exactly like that. And that result, Gab, means that is Switzerland next for England.
And no Mark Gay, he's going to be suspended.
Yeah.
And then I guess you're looking at it's Lewis Dunk, Joe Gomez, or Ezri Konsa. I have a feeling it's going to be Joe Gomez because in his head, Joe Gomez is really quick. Maybe.
Konsa came on left back. He's the one that's played. The other two haven't played, Gomez and Dunk, have they?
Yeah, I don't know what he's going to do there. We've praised Switzerland a lot. But I think England actually match up really well in terms of individuals. Mm-hmm. Again, this is assuming the players show up.
Yeah.
Southgate doesn't go and have everybody go and sit in the 6-yard box for most of the game, as he's done. Like I don't need you. Like I appreciate Southgate plays this way because Deschamps is his hero, and he thinks, oh, it'll work for me too, and it has worked for you over the years. But there's situations where if you keep inviting pressure, especially with the defenders that you have, you're always going to be vulnerable, and your players are more comfortable playing further up the pitch. I mean, to me, that's the biggest indictment. Spain go a goal down against Georgia before storming back to a 4-1 victory. Jules, the underdogs could only do so much, but imagine if Kvaratskhelia had scored from a million miles away.
Yeah, I love. There was one for Slovakia as well against England that almost went in. Then Kvaratskhelia he's almost went in. What a goal that would have been! Incredible. But even when the Normands scored that own goal, you knew Spain would come back, and they played really well, to be fair, against a super low, compact Georgian block. It was great to watch. Nico and Lamine Yamal again. Rodri, what a goal. It's just, Spain again, very impressive, but against a team that is very limited and I think ran out of juice as well after all the effort they put in the group stage, which is completely understandable. So well done to Willy Sagnol, all the Georgians, Kvaratskhelia and everybody. It's just a bit normal that he stopped there, right?
Yeah, look, it's normal. Spain showed that they were unflappable as well, but a goal, because they were a good goal down. I mean, it was minute 39, I think, that Rodri equalized, right?
Yeah, 40th, yeah.
That's a long way to go. It goes in the second half, we're a goal down, whatever. I thought they showed the right mentality.
Yeah. But they did what they do usually, and physically it's hard. It's hard to do against Spain, especially the way they move the ball. They move the ball really quick. You saw England being very slow in all their passing. Spain was so quick, still so good. And then imagine when Mikotadze and Kvaratskhelia had the ball for the counter. They were 1v4, 2v5.
Yeah.
So it was always going to be difficult for Georgia. But still an amazing story, there's no doubt. And sticking with Spain, you love to point out the defensive issues at times. Are you going to be harsh with the French centre-backs?
Yes, I will. So Laporte, first of all, I expect more distribution from you. You're going to be on the ball a lot, right? I thought that was all over the place. Cucurella, I thought you lost them for the goal. You've got to come across and close. You know that the winger who's ahead of you, you have to come and do that rather than just go and stick out your backside. Lenormand, sort yourself out. And I thought Carvajal had a rough ride as well. And I'm not a big Unai Simon guy. So when I look at Spain, they have to play attacking football because I think at the back they're nowhere near as solid as you would like them to be. All right, we're not done. We have more quick hits.
Yes.
Julian Nagelsmann rings the changes out wide. Leroy Sané and David Raum in for Florian Wirtz and Maxi Mittelstadt. And Germany advanced past Denmark 2-0. Although this is pretty hairy for a long, long time.
Yeah, not great at all. Not great in what they did with the ball. Not great what they did without the ball either. Denmark with their game plan, it's not amazing either, but they stuck to it quite well. And obviously the whole game changes on the Denmark goal. The first one, they opened the scoring. That's disallowed for tiny offside, but it's offside, so this is the rule. And then 2 minutes later, Joachim Andersen with a handball. It's a bit harsh, he's so close to the ball, but it's the rules, so penalty can have a score. And then after that the game opens up because Denmark have to chase, and then it's much more comfortable than for Germany. But you're right, for over an hour it was not really a good performance from them.
Yeah, I think we can credit Nagelsmann for making the change, seeing an issue, making the change, but that didn't necessarily resolve things on their own. A word on Joachim Andersen too, and Hjulmand went out, and I think most Scandinavians seemingly don't like VAR. And look, I know it's hard, blah, 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 but dude, we've had this for 5 years. So unless you've been living under a rock, which maybe Hjulmand has, I know for a fact Joachim Andersen has, because I've seen him play in the Premier League, and I saw him play in Serie A before that. He knows these things get punished. He also knows, because I've seen him do that you need to try to keep your arm behind your back, even at close range. Yeah. And if he watched the Croatia game, he knows that it's happened before. Very similar penalty given away. So move on. Accept it.
And what about the Kai Havertz turn, by the way? I know he didn't finish it in the end. His shot went wide, but that turn, one of the moments of the tournament.
He's the best on earth. What can you say?
Gab, that game was interrupted for 24 minutes due to bad weather with lightning and high wind around the stadium, and then hail falling, all of that. Do you remember anything like this, a major tournament?
No, I don't, actually. I don't remember this happening. Maybe it happened in
2012 Euros in Ukraine, the Ukraine-France game in Donetsk. I was there, and the game stopped and started 45 minutes later because of the incredible rain that fell. You should have seen in the stand, it was like almost a meter of water. It was incredible. Okay.
I have no memory of that. I was not in Donetsk. I was safe and sound in Poland for much of that tournament.
But it's really rare,
Yeah, I remember 2008, there was some weird electrical storm where all the TV pictures went out, and so for half an hour it was like the olden days, because you who are there at the match are the only ones who can actually see stuff. But yeah, it's right. Look, safety's got to come first. I think that's obvious. Lionel Messi sits this one out, and Leandro Paredes misses a penalty, but it's okay because Lautaro Martinez and Fuego scores twice, and Argentina roll past Peru 2-0 to stay perfect in the Copa America. Jules, the world champions, looked like world champions.
Yeah, they look good. Lautaro looked great. 2 really good finishes. The first one at the start of the second half, and then late in that second half as well. Paredes missing the penalty on his birthday, by the way, hitting the post.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
I know. I knew we were going to say that. But yeah, good group stage. Good performance from Argentina, who obviously move on to the quarterfinals. And Brazil stormed back from the disappointing 0-0 opener to beat Paraguay 4-0, and Vinicius looking great.
Yeah, he looked really good, linked really well with Rodrigo, Savio as well in that front three. I don't know if this is going to be the actual front three. It's funny, Lucas Paqueta, he misses a penalty early. And again, poor guy, every time stuff like this happens, people are going to be like, ooh, let's check the betting markets. Anyway, he did convert one. He did convert one later. It's coming together nicely, and I think this competition needs a good Brazil side. Tim Weah gets himself foolishly sent off after just 18 minutes, and the USA, despite taking the lead after that, fall 2-1 to Panama. Jules, what was Weah thinking?
Well, I don't know. He apologized afterwards on social media, saying that he need to learn not to respond to provocation and things like that, which I can understand. But he's not 15 anymore. He's been a pro for a few years now. He's played in France. He played for Juventus. He played on international level. I know he has to apologize, and
he plays with VAR. If I punch a guy in the back of the head, somebody's going to see me.
And I just don't think the apology is good enough anyway. But he got abused on social media, which is unacceptable as well. Let's just hope for him that they qualify, that they can make it out, because otherwise I think the backlash could be even worse for him, because he did cost them that that game against Panama, let's be honest.
It got really nervy at the end. A horrendous foul from Karaski on Pulisic, and also bad news for the US, or maybe not so bad news. I don't know.
Yeah, we're waiting to see if Turner can play. Yeah.
Both goalkeepers, neither one particularly good in that game.
That's very true. And Gab, to avoid elimination now, the US need to equal Panama's result. They're playing Bolivia, who are dreadful, as we know, while the US will take on Uruguay. What happens if they don't qualify? What would that mean for Berhalter?
I think it's a really, really big blow. I don't think you need to make a sort of some knee-jerk reaction and look and pin everything on him. But this is a major issue. The U.S. hosts a World Cup in 2 years. This tournament, we've already had, even though it's organized by CONMEBOL, and we've not had great crowds. We've had hot weather. We've had all these bad things. And maybe CONMEBOL should have said, hey, look, why don't you guys organize the logistics, since you actually organize games in the U.S. and you know what makes sense and you know how to price these things properly. But in terms of prestige, both the U.S. and Mexico, we'll get to in a minute, going out, that would not be good.
No.
USA are on +1 goal difference, Panama on -1. So it could be one of those games where they both run up the score and the U.S. has to stay ahead of them.
Yeah.
Ruud van Nistelrooy and Rene Hake, coach of Go Ahead Eagles, are both in the running to join Erik ten Hag's coaching staff at Manchester United. Jules, does this make sense to you?
I mean, anything else than Steve McLaren is good anyway. So, I'm all here. If they get an upgrade on him, Van Nistelrooy obviously had the one season that he had at PSV was really good. I'm not too familiar with him, and I looked at the result from Go Ahead Eagles and all of that, but nothing can be worse than Steve McLaren. So, yeah.
The one thing I don't get is Ten Hag has a year left on his contract. He's negotiating. Supposedly he's extending, blah, blah, blah. Although, funnily enough, the days tick by and we don't have the announcement. Why would you? But his job is far from secure. Why would you necessarily want to go there and be tarnished a little bit?
I don't know if you've Van Nistelrooy, you think maybe...
Well, Manchester United aren't going to know who I am unless I come and join.
No, but he can take over if Ten Hag goes.
Come on, let's
I don't know,
Why the long face?
More United. Our colleague Rob Dawson reports that they are very close now to agreeing a deal with Newcastle for Dan Ashworth.
Yeah, this is a story breaking on ESPN.com right now. Certainly United have put that out there. They must be very confident. I think you need Dan Ashworth around and in let's say, a legal way to help you with your transfer dealings. It's a big, big summer transfer, and you got 2 months to do it. Mexico are out of the Copa America after scoreless draw with Ecuador. Jules, this was really, really bad.
Terrible. I mean, they scored 1 goal in the 3 group stage game. That was against Jamaica. I think the XG is 4.5 or something like that. So at times they've had chances, but more often than not, they haven't played good enough football. And I don't know if changing Lozano as a head coach is the answer. I don't know if you start again. I think the problems, and we said that after the World Cup in Qatar, the problems are deeper than that, within grassroots football and the federation and the league and Liga MX and all of that. But this is pathetic, really.
You're in a group with Ecuador, Venezuela, and Jamaica.
I know.
And
you don't come out.
And you're playing at home, basically, because when Mexico play in the US, they're playing at home.
Incredible. Well done to Venezuela, by the way, and Ali Moreno
very
happy.
Yes.
They won all their 3 games. Chelsea have reportedly agreed a deal to sign Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall from Leicester for around £30 million. Are you happy? You like this deal?
I mean, Maresca must like him. It's not an enormous amount of money to spend. Sure, why not? I think if you're Chelsea, I would have thought if he's going to replicate, I would have thought Harry Winks would have been the guy he signed, or somebody who can do Harry Winks type stuff. I'm not comfortable with Enzo in the playmaker role. I just don't think that's his position. And obviously Dewsbury Hall doesn't do that, and Caicedo doesn't really do that either. And
Gallagher neither. It's a lot of midfielders.
And Romeo Lavia neither, and Leslie Pachuku either. I think this means that Gallagher's gone, but I think we kind of saw that happening. They've also inked the deal to send Omari Hutchinson to Ipswich, $22 million. I'm assuming Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall will be announced after, in July, and Hutchinson before on June 30th, just for profit and sustainability rule reasons. You can never have enough Manchester United, Jules. They've been offered Manuel Ugarte.
Hey.
What's a fair price?
I don't know. He signed a year ago to PSG for €60 million. So I don't think PSG, who have rejected already an offer from Manchester United, that was a bit too low. will probably look around what, 40, 50? I mean, they would try to get as much as they want, but he's hardly played in the second half of the season. Now he's at Copa America with Uruguay. He's a really good player. I think there's potential there. He was just not good enough, I think, on the ball for Luis Enrique's liking, which is debatable.
It's not Eric Ten Hag's liking.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But this is a position United need to fill.
Certainly. Newcastle have been busy, presumably due to profit and sustainability rules. Of course, they had to sell, and they let Elliot Anderson go to Forest for £30 million, and Yankuba Minte to Brighton for £33 million. That's two massive sales.
Yeah, people might not know who Yankuba Minte is. He's a guy from Gambia. He was on loan at Feyenoord last year, scored 10 goals. He's only 19 years old. This is all PSR related. The Anderson deal is actually, they're going to include Vlaco Dimos in part exchange. Makes me wonder a bit. 35 million sounds like a ton, frankly. So I guess a lot of it depends how much cash is actually going to change hands with these swaps. I've got a column coming out on this. Look out for it on the website. I don't know that they're all turning Italian now with Plus Valenze, but it's not quite a loophole, but it is all about accounting. A lot of money. El Mundo Deportivo from Barcelona report that Paris Saint-Germain are plotting a 250 million euro bid for Lamine Yamal. Jules, do we even want to comment on that?
Yeah, because they're going to sign Vinicius and Lamine Yamal in the summer for 500 million euros, both of them together. So I just can't wait to see that happen.
Since they're not paying that money, they're trying not to pay Kylian Mbappe the money and suing him.
This is great. Can't wait. Thank you, El Mundo Deportivo. Joselu was signed for Al Gharafa in Qatar. Gab, I guess not everyone chooses Saudi Arabia for the last big paycheck.
Yeah, look, I don't know much about Al Gharafa. Joselu's not a guy who's made a lot of money in his career, I think he's entitled to it. Part of me says it's a shame he didn't stick around. And I do wonder if Real Madrid aren't going to slightly miss that profile of striker a little bit.
No, but they've got so many attackers. Like, for all we know, he might not have played at all almost,
In certain games, big man can come in handy.
Yeah, he could.
I mean, maybe I guess Bellingham can do everything. So, Bellingham.
Kylian can do everything.
Yeah, Kylian, whatever. Tottenham are reportedly looking to sign Archie Gray from Leeds United, which is obviously infuriating local fans, Jules.
I know. He was on his way to Brentford, he was doing his medical, and then the deal collapsed because of the structure of it. The two clubs could not agree. And Spurs, I love Archie Gray. I think he's got an amazing future ahead of him. He's going to be incredible already. 40 million is a lot of money for someone who's only played one season in Championship when he's so young. And if you're Leeds, considering not just Archie's season and pathway, but all the Gray family, obviously, you don't want, I guess, to see him.
I think
go.
Eddie Gray's his great uncle.
His dad, his uncle, everybody who played football in their family. His
dad is one of the other Andy Grays, because there's several.
And his younger brother is apparently even better than Archie himself. And he's
sounds
also
like a lot of money, though.
It's a lot of money, yeah. But it's like, we've seen that before, and it doesn't always work with young English players, right? So they have to be careful. Moise Kean has left Juventus for Fiorentina. Gab, not a bad deal for the Bianconeris.
No, I think this is a tremendous deal. He's taking a pay cut as well, which, again, whenever players do this, I have a lot of respect for them. They're getting 13 million euros plus up to 5 million in bonuses for a guy who, do you know how many goals he scored for Juve last year in the league?
Yeah, 5?
No.
4.
He scored as many as you did, 0.
Oh.
It's funny because he just doesn't score much.
No, that's not what he does.
He only reached double figures once in his career, which is when he was playing for Paris Saint-Germain. In fact, I think he scored more goals for Paris Saint-Germain than he scored for any other club in his career combined. But look, I know, much respect. You want to play regularly. This helps Juve with their books, and it helps them to play.
Yeah, fair enough.
Said Benrahma liked Leon and John Textor so much, he decided to stick around, Jules, and make his move from West Ham permanent.
Yeah, because he did well in the second half of the season, linking up well with Lacazette, helping this team to have this incredible second half of the season, by the way. So well done. And that was the good news of the day on through the weekend. And the other good news was that Thiago Almada is also on his way to Lyon. He will get there in January after playing for Botafogo, leaving MLS. I think I just cannot wait to see Thiago Almada in Europe. And that's, for all the criticism we gave John Textor, JT, our friend, I have to say getting Thiago Almada is a real crew.
It must have been really hard to get him from the other club he owns to this club he owns.
Well, no, but first you have to get him out of MLS. John Textor doesn't own
MLS?
Atlanta. Yeah, so, you know.
No, but by the way, speaking of John Textor and owning things, remember the whole business, how we said that, you know, he can't take credit for the women's team because that's been sold to...
Yeah, Michel Wang.
Yeah, but here's my issue with Michel. Michel is part owner in Eagle Football, which is John Textor's multi-club ownership structure.
Yeah.
It's kind of like apple don't fall that far from the tree, right? There's a lot of like financial links in there. Look, I'm not saying she's not. Like I'm saying, it's not an entirely independent operation if she's also a shareholder in the other operation. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. No.
More like business partners.
Yeah. True. Remember Ben Godfrey? Gab, the Everton legend. Well, he signed for Atalanta for 10 million euros.
I'm curious to see how this works out. So obviously, he did not get much of a look in under Sean Dyche. He's just not a Sean Dyche type player.
Not.
10 million, I think, is a good fee. Good for him to go and want to challenge himself, test himself.
I like that.
That former Evertonian or to Bergamo pipeline, made famous by Ademola Lookman, is clearly continuing.
Very much so.
I'm curious to see how this works out.
Yeah, definitely.
Philippe Coutinho is reportedly on his way back to where it all began, Vasco da Gama. Jules, we're happy for him.
Oh, I love that. I love when players go back to where you all started. We saw Thiago Silva, of course, going back to Fluminense.
Yeah, and then Fernando Diniz gets sacked. But
I know, but as we know as well, in Brazil, coaches stay one season or less.
No, but this guy's been successful, so like,
no, I know.
get a bad start, but whatever.
I know. But yeah, well done for Coutinho. Obviously had those great years at Liverpool. Since then, not so much. But let's hope he's happy back in Brazil and can link up well with Dimitri Payet, by the way. Imagine Coutinho and Payet in the same team.
Oh, yeah, no, turn back the clock.
I know.
He was at Aldo Heil before that. The one caution I would say is, who owns Vasco da Gama? 777.
Yes,
careful
of course.
there.
Be careful.
You take payment up front.
Remember how earlier we talked about the USA-Uruguay game coming up at Copa America? Well, Marcelo Bielsa won't be on the bench, Gab. It will be in the stands.
Yeah, and the reason is that I imagine it's for TV reasons, to be honest. But basically, they have a policy where, you know, you have, when your teams come out, both at the start of the game and for the second half, they have to be out by a certain time. You have to respect certain timings.
Yeah.
They've really cracked down on it on the Copa America. Like, this is the most important thing. We've already seen Lionel Scaloni.
I saw that.
Sorry?
I saw that, yeah.
We saw Ricardo Gareca, who's coaching Chile now, and Batista, who apparently is the Venezuela coach. We've all seen them punished once. Bielsa's been punished twice. I guess in both his games, he's been late. I don't know what he was doing, maybe wandering back and forth. So, yeah, he's going to be up in the stands. I don't think he cares.
No.
It does seem a little bit persnickety.
Did you see the incredible press conference that he had when an American journalist asked him about Darwin Núñez first, fair enough, and then why, so he asked Bielsa, why do you like McDonald's so much? And obviously in English, so Bielsa needed a translator. The translator, I think, was probably a bit scared of Bielsa. And Bielsa was like, McDonald's? Who's this player? Who is McDonald's? So the guy was like, no, McDonald's, the restaurant. And Bielsa was like, me? McDonald's? No, definitely not. I mean, I just love Bielsa in his Copa America. He's like, his own show is amazing.
He does not seem to be a Mackie D type
definitely
person.
No. I mean, why would you ask the question? Although in Marseille, by the way, he had his coffee at McDonald's and using the Wi-Fi there, and you could see him with his laptop working at McDonald's near not far from the city center in his Marseille tracksuit with the glasses. Unreal.
Why should he pay for Wi-Fi when he can have free Wi-Fi at McDonald's? By the way, we've had so many McDonald's references in this. They should probably sponsor us. Just chucking that out there.
Like Ligue 1. You love that sponsor.
Jules, UEFA are happy with the officiating at the Euros, and especially the policy that only captains can approach referees.
Yeah.
They say to speed it up the game. Are you on board with this?
I mean, speeding up, I'm not sure how much it speeds up the game, but I think it's good not to see referees being surrounded all the time by players, having to talk to everyone, or, you know, feel maybe a little bit under pressure, let's put it that way. And I think that has worked. And I think I've noticed it watching on television, so I hope people back home everywhere who watch the tournament have seen it as well. may
I
continue.
think part of it is also there have been bookings for dissent, but I think the refereeing has been better. It often is in major tournaments because you've got better referees. Again,
True.
there is such a thing as referees being better. One of my absolute things I absolutely cannot hate, almost as much as child poverty, is those people who say, "Oh well, but all the referees are the same. Respect the referees." No, there's really good referees. There's other referees who are not quite as good.
That's right.
So I think this is working out nicely. And by the way, I like the fact also they made an exception here, because if your captain is a goalkeeper, he can delegate somebody else.
That's
you
true.
just have to tell him before the game.
Yeah.
So with Italy,
you
like,
have
for
to
example,
run all the way.
you don't want to make Donnarumma run like 60 yards to go talk to the referee, right? Makes sense to me.
Yeah. We used to complain about equal pay from the women's side of the game, Gab, compared to the men's game, of course. But the Olympics, it could be the other way around.
Yeah. So this is a story I saw, which I thought was curious. Basically, at the Olympics, the U.S. women's team, so basically they've got this collective bargaining agreement where they say the men's team and the women's team are in the same, blah, 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 equal pay. And again, there are some wrinkles to it, but it's something that was a big thing that they thrashed out, I think a year ago, 2 years ago. However, the U.S. Olympic team isn't the proper national team like the women's team. U.S. Olympic team, like most Olympic teams, is the under-23 side, plus a couple full internationals. And so, as a result, they're going to earn less.
Yeah.
Or it's not quite equal pay.
No, but that's normal, right?
I don't know. I kind of feel.
Under-23 the same as your superstar from your.
But they're in the
main
same
team.
tournament.
Same tournament, yeah, no, but it's like if you say
All right,
Wimbledon juniors is the same tournament, don't earn the same as the senior. This is the
Wimbledon juniors compete in the junior category.
Yeah.
These people are competing for the gold medal.
No, but the under-23 men's tournament is like a junior tournament.
But it's not the under-23 tournament. It's the Olympic. It's the one that they're both playing in the Olympic football tournament.
Yeah.
I think once you enshrine equal pay and you say this is a principle, it should be a principle for your men's team and for your women's team.
I mean,
especially if it's in the same competition.
I know, but there's different circumstances, though.
It's Olympic football. Not a thing. Not a thing. Football at the Olympics, not a thing. I know you'll be watching it, but not a thing.
I'll be there. I'll be commentating on it.
Romania against Holland on Tuesday night, Jules. Who you got? I know you want that Dutch guy out.
Nah, I can't. Even the Dutch guy cannot not qualify against Romania. We've liked this Romanian team. We've liked their spirit. We've liked the way they played.
Raciu, Dragusin, come on, man.
All of that, great. No, this is good.
Haji.
But come on. And apparently the Dutch had a clear of meetings between them with the coaching staff.
Did you see what he did to Veerman? You weren't at the show, mate. So I was at that game, right? And against Austria, they lost. Veerman comes off after 35 minutes in the first half. I mean, wait.
I know.
Who does that? You can't wait 10 minutes.
It's such a bad coach.
And the funny thing too is, Holland still have much better players than Austria, for example.
Of course.
Right? So they still, in the end, if you break down the chances and take out the stupid mistakes, they probably would have still won that game.
Yeah.
So this is why you're saying that they're going to beat
And I think they're going to raise their game anyway, and I really see them going far in that side of the draw, to be fair. Gab, you'll be at Austria against Turkey, which is a very exciting game, I think. We're all quite happy and up for it. How do you see this one going?
I think it's a coin flip. I think, obviously, I believe Vincenzo Montella, the only Italian coach left in the competition.
Well, with Tedesco for now, if you can't
with Tedesco literally means German.
Yeah.
And by the time this comes out, he'll probably be out of the competition. So we only count Tedesco when he wins.
Fair enough.
Turkey are going to have incredible support. It's going to be like a home game.
Yeah.
We've seen that throughout these Euros. They have the individuals. I think athletically, Turkey match up pretty well with Austria. This is a team with a lot of energy.
That's the only thing.
What's right?
Can they beat their press? That's the only thing.
Can they beat the press? And can their goalkeepers, can they get whoever plays in goal, not throw one in?
I agree.
Belgium had to issue an apology after Amadou Onana appeared in a video with a comedian talking about kicking Kylian Mbappe. Isn't this a bit over the top, Jules?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I remember there was one about that Rudiger did before the Champions League semi-final, where the guy said, "Oh, you might face PSG and Mbappe in the final. What would you do?" And he laughed and said, "I'd kick him all around the pitch." And I don't think Amadou Onana meant anything bad. I think it was a bit of a joke. I think you're not going to kick anybody. You're not going to hurt him. You're not going to injure him.
Exactly. So what I
I'm
thought.
not sure.
Yeah, I don't think this is something you need to apologize.
No,
He's a
exactly.
comedian. Like, there's got to be some space for that,
Yeah,
right?
I agree. Barcelona, talking about jokes, and Barcelona's official website put out a statement, Gab, that they quickly retracted. What happened?
So basically, it's the end of, obviously, football contracts expire on June 30th. They put out a statement noting that Marcos Alonso, João Felix, and João Cancelo.
So the players on loan.
And
out of contract.
And Alonso's out of contract. Their contracts were expiring, and they were leaving the club, and they had quotes and pictures. Thank you so much for your service, blah, blah, blah. So that goes out. Technically it's true for João Cancelo and João Felix, but of course they're looking at, might we be able to keep them around?
Yeah.
So then they immediately retracted it. Only poor Marcos Alonso
was left.
Suggests to me they might see if they can work out a deal to keep these two guys. It's been talked along for a long time. If I were unkind, I might also suggest it might have something to do with Uncle George and Deco and saying, hey, maybe do me a favor, don't say that these guys are unwanted or unaffordable. But yeah, it is what it is. Jules, this brings us to an end. But we got to come back. We're going to come back on the 4th of July.
Yeah, on Thursday.
Just ahead of the quarterfinals. Until then, big thank you again to Scaling Spaces for hosting us. But be sure to love the game, love your neighbor, and love yourself.